actually occur.
Thank you. I'm very excited about this initiative. We got to do it right. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of families come over and not be able to properly take care of them. So we're doing this in several phases. First off, the data. We have right now about 1,800 command-sponsored families, families that the U.S. military has paid to come over and are there, if you will, officially. We have about 2,100 families that have said, I'm coming over anyway. Even if I'm not command-sponsored, I'm not going to spend another year away from my service member, and I'm going to come over. For those families, we do the right thing, and General Bell set this up. I'm not taking any credit. He really did a great job of this. He said, okay, you're here. It's our moral obligation to take care of you. So we're giving them housing allowance. We're making sure that the housing allowance that we give them is proper and that where they rent off post, because that's where they live, is a safe place and is up to our standards, and we're paying them for what they really are getting. So we're not giving someone $1,500 a month to live in a $300 hovel. We're making sure that that is done right. They get TRICARE Standard instead of TRICARE Prime, and they get cost of living allowance without dependents instead of with dependents. My first initiative that we're working with Dr. Chu and with the services is to be able to take those non-command sponsored families that are mostly living up in 2nd Infantry Division area up north of Seoul, and to be able to offer to them command sponsorship so that they get, again, TRICARE Prime instead of standard. They got COLA with dependents instead of without, and they get some assistance to send their kids to international schools if there are available. The families have asked for it. Again, we're working through to be able to get the specifics of that. I had the authority to do that at Camp Red Cloud at Uijeongbu and did that about a week or so ago. We're working with Dr. Chu to make in the services to be able to make it for the other locations of 2ID to be able to do that. So that's kind of step one, if you will, to get that done. And to then be able to take places like Seoul, like Osan, that currently have some command sponsors there that are there for 2 years, and turn that into a 3-year tour. And again, I think that I can do that fairly quickly. And to be able to take the places that don't have the great facilities but already have families there that want to stay, and change that to a 24-month tour instead of, for those who want to stay, instead of a 12-month tour. But fully understanding, and the families having to acknowledge, hey, I'm here, I understand the limited services that are available, but I still want to be here because I don't want to be separated from my service member. That's step, I guess, 1 and 2. Beyond that, we are working very hard in order to be able to establish housing for families at a much greater rate, especially down at Camp Humphreys and other places. It's a great initiative the Army is working through in order to be able to get housing built by the Koreans that we pay on our post, that we then pay housing allowance to. And we think there's some real positive, we think that that initiative is actually going to work. Then we're working some other initiatives, some other sharing initiatives with schools that we've just started to be able to do it, because that will be the other hard service that I've got to make sure is in place. Medical, I think I'm in pretty good shape as we build Humphreys, the new hospital down there that the Koreans are paying for because it's a replacement for our hospital in Yongsan. It's going to be a first-class facility. Combine that with a hospital at Osan, and I think, which is very close, I think we've got some good possibilities. And then we will just continue to grow. My goal is, and again, the services and the Secretary and all are working through the specifics of this. The goal then is to grow as facilities become available to be able to expand it to as many service members as possible. Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
General, the 1,800, that's an imposed limit? That's a congressional limit or a command limit? You can't go beyond that at the present time? The 1,800 command-sponsored families?
No, you can go. The General Bell had the authority and raised it up even higher than that. Again, I'm working through, and I'm going to increase it somewhat on the margins to the point where I think that I am comfortable service-wise. While we're in Seoul, I can raise it a little bit higher, and we're working through the details of that because Seoul has got the infrastructure for me to allow people to live in good places off post, off Yongsan, off base. We've got great medical both in Yongsan and then with memorandum of understanding hospitals off post. The Korean medical system is very good, both medical and dental, so that we can work through that. My limiting factor right now is schools, on how high that I can raise it. And I'm working with DODEA in order to be able to have some initiatives there as we go through.
So you said you agree with, or you support General Bell's initiative to make this a command-sponsored tour, a 3-year tour. What has to happen to make that happen?
We have to build the facilities, and we have to then meter the folks in as the facilities are being built. And again, I'm very optimistic about the housing part of it as we move down to Piontek. The medical part, I'm in pretty good shape. It's the schools that I'm also trying to work through in order to be able to make sure that they're built, because you won't want to bring a whole bunch of families in and not have a school to go to. There's some international schools, especially up in the Seoul area, but as we move down to Piontek, there are not as many that are down in that area. So we've got to figure out a way to do some partnership things to be able to get some schools built.
You need authorization to do that from Congress or from the Pentagon, or can you do that on your own?
I need some money one way or another, and again, we're trying to come up with some innovative ways that we can do some teaming. You know, the ROKs do pay about right now 43% of the non-personnel stationing costs that we have in Korea, the burden sharing agreement, which we're working through the renegotiation of that right now, because the current agreement expires at the end of this year. And the more money that we can get from that burden sharing agreement, I can put some of that into this initiative. And the more we get, the more I can put it in, the quicker that we can build a facility so that we have the capability to move to this in the longer run. Yes, sir.
Do you think you can move some of your units in Korea to other conflict regions temporarily?
Right now, we have individuals that are in other conflict areas in Iraq and Afghanistan. We have about 62 right now that are deployed off into other countries. We have, as you know, in the past, we have taken the brigade out of Korea, deployed that, and now that brigade is back in the United States. There is no plans right now in order to be able to take other units off the Republic of Korea and to deploy it, but it is something that we work very closely with the department to be able to make that balance. What our president and your president and Korean president has committed to is to be able to maintain about the same capability level that we have now in Korea for the foreseeable future, capability level. So as we look at what we really need in Korea from a U.S. perspective in order to be able to support the war fight based upon Korean capabilities, that will adjust over time. I mean, as Korea becomes more capable in certain areas and needs more assets in other areas, we will make those adjustments over time. But again, the goal, not the goal, the commitment is to be able to stay at about the same capability level that we have right now for the foreseeable future.